I'm a strong believer that there is a crisis in masculinity happening right now, not just in this
Absolutely.
country, but in the world. So you say you do see that. Why is that happening?
It's for a multitude of reasons. One, you take away the fathers. So you've got a 50% divorce rate. At least that's what they say in the country. They've got a 50% divorce rate. So 50% of the fathers are absent. Who's teaching that young man the way of man, right? By the way, there's a great book out there by Jack Donovan called The Way of Men. I think every guy should read it, whether you've got a dad in your life or not. And in that book, he talks about strength, honor, courage, and mastery. Like those are the 4 things that every man needs. And in the absence of that, you begin to feel like you can't exercise your voice. And so, one, there's that, the crisis is a byproduct of the high divorce rate. There are no fathers. There used to be a rite of passage where a father would take the son through an experience, and that experience would be assigned to that young boy that you are now a man, and you have a seat at the table, and the tribe of men will groom you into a capable, confident man here to be a protector, a provider who can preside over his family, over his community. That no longer exists. Cultures for years, for thousands of years had that, and it doesn't exist. So there's one thing. And then you got the big, what I call the opposition, which is media, social media, television media, mainstream media, big government. Look, if I want to invade a country, I'm not worried about the children of that country. I'm not worried about the women of that country stopping me in my army. I'm not worried about the elderly in that country. I'm worried about the men, the able-bodied men. But if I can demoralize them and destabilize them for decades using media, using terms like toxic masculinity, then I can walk into that country and practically take it away from them without firing a single shot. So there's the attack on masculinity is multi-front. And so the attack to save masculinity must be multi-front.
Is it working? Because as far as I can see, I see an increasing number of feminized men. I see an increasing number of men, particularly during the pandemic, who were walking around in total terror, who weren't looking at the data, who were actually responding very much with emotion. So as far as I can see, the Matrix agenda, unfortunately, is working quite well, in my view. Is it working? And if not, if it is working, what do we do about it?
Well, I think it really became aware to majority sometime after 2020. When the pandemic happened, especially 6, 7, 8, 10 months into the pandemic, I think people started to sense deep down in their gut, something's not right. Something's off.
The mandates may be set.
Yes, right? People can tell. Like, someone can walk into a room and you can just tell, like, your spidey senses go off. The hair on the back of your neck stands up. Like, why is that? There's an energy about them, only to find out later that they did something shady, right? And so,
see, but can I just interrupt you there, because I love what you're saying, but there's less and less, and we're talking about men here in particular, because I do agree with you that men are on the front lines of the guys that want to do danger. They need weak men. So we need men on the front lines being strong all the time. I'm not just talking about the front lines in the military. I'm talking about the front lines of your home, the front lines of your community, all of that stuff. But there are less and less men who have that spidey sense, or they kind of, that's been suppressed or beaten out of them to such an extent that they don't respond with that. They're having, when I say a feminized man, they have a very emotional reaction to everything. And I see less and less guys able to do what you're talking about. And that's scary to me as a woman in the world. I need more guys like you out there.
And I maybe I'm a forever optimist, but I believe we will win. And the reason we will win is, remember, this was happening for a minimum of 20 years. The dismantling of masculinity, dismantling of the confidence of men, telling men that they are toxic, that everything that is factory installed in a man is not right. Like, could you imagine that? Everything that is factory installed. Imagine if I said, hey, everything that's factory installed in you is not right. Like the need to be seen and heard, that a woman wants to be seen and heard, that's not right. Don't do that. That's toxic femininity. Like, you'd be like, what the hell, man? That's like my radiance wants that. And so my son, from like, he was a little puppy, he just like punched me in the face before he could even walk. And I was like, that's awesome. And my daughter, on the other hand, wanted to cuddle with things, right? Like, same parents.
I have a son who whacks us all around.
Right.
In fact, we have a rule in my house for my son. He's 3 years old. And I'll say to him, rough with daddy, gentle with mommy. And now he knows. And it's so funny. The other day, he was playing football in the house, no joke. And he said, Mommy, move out of the way. And I said, why? He said, I have to protect you. And I said, I'm raising this kid right. I love it, you know?
What a stud. I got to meet him outside.
Yeah, he's the
handsome
best.
little dude. Yeah.
He's a handsome little dude. He's tough as nails and very different from what a little girl would be. You're right. But I love that you use the phrase factory installed. There's a whole generation of people now that want to deny that that's a reality, that want to say that everything is, culturally acquired and, everything is societally. It's almost like men and women, they have to derail the fact that men and women are different by saying that you are not internally wired for anything, which is totally absurd.
Yeah, it's all these people who are talking about trust the science. That's literally against the science
right.
of our genetic makeup, right? But all this to say that for 20 years, there was a dismantling of masculinity through movies, through Al Bundy really started the whole thing. If you go like, where's Ground Zero? It's Al Bundy. Right?
Yeah.
And I used to love that show, but it was Al Bundy, like the goofy doofus guy who can't figure his way out. If it wasn't for his wife to point the way, he couldn't figure it out. And his kids, he was just a laughing stock for his kids. And he would just come home, make money. And this is what men think. Well, I make money. That's the bare minimum. That's like when someone says, well, I've never been to jail. You're not supposed to go to jail, right? Like, don't be proud of that. Chris Rock has an old comedy album where he talks about the guys in the hood, being proud of themselves for not going to jail. Like, I ain't never been to jail. It's like, bro, you're not supposed to go to jail. Like, don't be proud of the bare minimum. And so if you're like, well, I just provide, that's not what there's way more than a dad has to do, a father has to do, a husband has to do. And so in the absence of all that, so 20 years of dismantling masculinity, what 2020 did is it did accelerate the process of the dismantling, but it woke up. It woke up something within men to go, something's not right, I feel it. And then voices like Andrew Tate came up, and voices like, I'd been talking about this since 2017 openly. 2018 we started the project. 2019, we started the Squire program, which is a father and son program, rite of passage experience. And so I saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, all right, in addition to talking about entrepreneurism, which is what my core thing is, I need to talk about what is happening, which is this dismantling of masculinity. And so 2020 accelerated the process, but it also woke up voices. And now we're going to need some time for the tides to turn. It's like a cruise ship. It's going to have degrees of turning required. It's not a speedboat that's going to whip around.
If you like the short clip and want to watch another short clip, click here. Or if you want to watch the full episode, click right here.